I'm here at the Constitutional Court with Vlastimil Göttinger, who is the Secretary General of the Constitutional Court. Thank you for showing me around today, Vlastimil.
Thank you very much for coming to the Constitutional Court and welcome to the supreme body of protection of constitutionalism in the Czech Republic. And very warm welcome to all of you who are watching us.
And this was the old entrance of the Constitutional Court here, where we're stood?
Actually, this was the main entrance, but it was not the Constitutional Court when the building was constructed. It was a regional parliament, and we are standing at the main entrance, but the Constitutional Court of Czechoslovakia was established in 1920, that means 50 years after constructing this very building, and the seat of the Constitutional Court of Czechoslovakia was in Prague, not in Brno.
So previously it was in Prague, and then it moved to Brno.
And it was the very first constitutional court in the world.
I read that. I read on the Wikipedia page, actually, that it was the very first court to do judicial review.
It was not the very first court of judicial review of norms, but it was the first court which was labeled Constitutional Court.
Good, thank you. So we'll go and look around the court and also talk about it as well. So, let's go.
Let's go.
Vlastimil explained to me that in 2014, a structural and historical survey of the court building was conducted in preparation for some renovations. The survey revealed a time capsule placed here in this very spot from 1878. The time capsule box and copies of the documents can be found on display in this building, although original documents are archived in the Moravian Provincial Archives. Vlastimil explained that the photos of how the building looked when it was first built were helpful during renovations to ensure the preservation and restoration of the original features. The court plans to make its own time capsule that will be placed in this building to be opened in 100 years' time. Inside there will be a range of items, including a personal message from every justice of the court. Here, Vlastimil is pointing out to me the current justices of the court. We began our court tour climbing up this ceremonial staircase which connects the old carriage entrance to the Assembly Hall. Vlastimil explained to me that Her Royal Majesty Elizabeth II, Queen of England, visited the Constitutional Court in Brno some years ago. According to royal protocol, the Queen must use a special entrance instead of the official entrance. Therefore, she used this old entrance to enter the court. It hadn't been used for 50 years. It had to be unlocked, oiled and prepared. Yes, I definitely felt like a VIP walking up the stairs on this red carpet. Once you reach the top, opposite the staircase, you find the Assembly Hall, but our first stop was a smaller courtroom. Here, Vlastimil told me about the types of cases heard in such a room.
Vlastimil, we are here inside a courtroom. What kind of cases happen in this kind of courtroom?
This courtroom is called courtroom for panels, because Constitutional Court is internally divided into 4 panels. The panels are composed of 3 justices, and these panels are deciding on constitutional complaints of the individuals. And in particular, this courtroom is used for the hearing and for announcing the judgments of the court to the audience. To be honest with you and with all the spectators, the decision-making process is taken in camera usually. This room is used for announcing the judgment in the vast majority of all the cases. The panel is composed of 3 justices. There are only 3 seats for them. The president of the panel is in the middle, but what is interesting, the presidents of panel rotate in a year, so no justice can be the president of the panel for more than 1 year, then there will be a colleague.
So to avoid maybe too much power in one person,
too much
perhaps?
power, plus the members of the panels are not permanent, so the panels cannot make a family or a group of friends because they are rotating. The term of the justices of the Constitutional Court is 10 years. But the justices can be reappointed. And for every lawyer, it is the absolute peak of your career to become a justice of the Constitutional Court. From the Constitutional Court, you can go to the academy, but all the other courts are lower. Only one justice, as far as I know, returned to the General Justice. All the other justices, when finishing their term, retired or remained as the professors of law.
Very good.
Next, we continued our tour passing through the vestibule of the Assembly Hall to reach the Assembly Hall, which is also called the Plenary. In this grand room, you can see the Constitutional Court Grand Bench, which seats all 15 justices. Here, Vlastimil tells me about the history of this building.
This building was completely constructed by the Austrians. The architects were Austrians, the main constructor was Austrian, and all the others were Austrians who were constructing this building. The building as such was created in neo-Renaissance style by two Austrian architects, Mr. Raschka and Mr. Heft. The budget for building it was 400,000 golden crowns of Austria, and in the first year they spent 800,000.
A bit over budget.
Vlastimil explained to me that recently this Assembly Hall of the Constitutional Court, which is one of the most important parts of the building, was renovated. In this room, important events take place, such as plenary sessions of the justices and international conferences. The architects, Andrzej Kafka and Darka Kafka, worked on the design to restore some of the original features, such as the skylights and walls, while also modernising the room to make it more suitable for a modern-day courtroom. Something significant in this room is that the walls, although they look like they are made from marble, they are indeed covered in wallpaper, which is painted to look like marble. This was an original feature of the building, and I'm told by Vlastimil that this wallpaper is actually even more expensive to buy than real marble. These original design features are combined with modern touches such as air conditioning, comfy chairs for the justices, and audio-visual equipment such as TV screens and microphones. Next, Vlastimil tells me about the types of cases heard in this courtroom.
And so when the court is in session, are the sessions recorded?
Of course,
yes.
The sessions are recorded, but the sessions are rare. There are only few limited possibilities for the plenum, that means all 15 justices of the court, to be together and have a session. One of these is the abstract review of norms, which is a plenary issue, but still in the COVID era, the court prefers the session in a camera, and only the judge reporter and the president of the court then announces the result.
Next, we walk up to the Constitutional Court Grand Bench and go through a small door which leads to the deliberation room of the plenary. Here we have a room where all 15 justices can sit and deliberate to reach a decision. The main thing you notice in this room is that there's a huge tapestry hanging on the wall. This tapestry, called the Moment of Decision, was designed by Vladimir Kokolia and took 2 years for the Moravian tapestry manufacturer to complete. It shows the contrast between good and evil and was inspired by the Mahabharata, an epic ancient Indian work. Exiting the room, you find 2 framed texts either side of the doors, showing the order of how the justices will be seated. We then exit the assembly hall and walk along the corridor to reach a smaller deliberation room. Here, Vlastimil is knocking on the door to check we can enter. We then go inside and we see a deliberation room. Normally, there are weekly meetings here, but during COVID times, the justices meet in the assembly hall to keep the distance. We then walk back along the corridor and visit a room displaying court items such as the justices' robes and the time capsule that I mentioned earlier. Here, Vlastimil is explaining to me about the court robes. The most recent design of the justices' robes is by the designer Libena Rokova. It is modern in style and uses the national colours of the Czech Republic, that is, blue, red and white. As we walk back to Vlastimil's office, we pass by a few other places. We see the western gallery of the Assembly Hall, which overlooks the Assembly Hall and which has been recently renovated. It's a modern room with comfy seating, and Vlastimil tells me that the carpet was made by the same manufacturer as the tapestry we saw earlier. The design mirrors the ceiling, and Vlastimil told me, don't be afraid to step on it, it's made for walking on. We continued our journey with Vlastimil showing me an area, not a judicial area as such, but every floor has a lunchroom for staff members. It's a modern, bright space, and I know I'd rather eat my lunch here than at my desk. There's also seating outside, which is empty now because we're in November, but I'm sure in the spring and summer months staff appreciate the opportunity to spend a bit of time out in the sun. Our final stop is a room with no name. All the rooms in the building have names, but this room is simply room 248. Here, small conferences and meetings of up to 50 people are held, and something notable about this room is that while the entire court building has a Renaissance style, this room is designed in a classical style from the Mozart era, as you can see by the intricate ceiling and chandeliers. We then take this modern glass elevator to reach Vlastimil's office, where I interviewed him about his work as the Secretary General of one of the Czech Republic's most important courts, the Constitutional Court. You can catch that interview in another podcast, and I highly recommend you check it out. My visit to this court showed me that this whole court building combines both traditional and modern style, which reflects the challenging job of the justices to uphold the constitution of the past as Czech society continues to evolve into the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.